Good evening. Welcome to the August 7th, 2023 meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Bentley Nolan and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Patty Thompson.
Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight, Lord. We thank you for our city. We thank you for the responsibility that you've given to us, Lord, that we might make decisions for the betterment of our city. We ask for your wisdom and your discernment tonight as we listen to these presentations, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time in our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask that you remember that we do not take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set forth in the Development Code. At this time, I would like to ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves, beginning with the staff.
My name is Dennis Bonds. I'm the city engineer and interim director of development services.
Jenny Safely, city planner.
Mark Williams.
Bentley Nolan.
Lindsay Leak.
Pam Hadley.
Leslie Mart, Patty Thompson.
Scott Davis.
Russ Wilson, zoning administrator.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes. We'll now open our regular session. Report on council actions. Ms. Savely, do you have anything to report on the council actions from our last meeting?
None at this time.
On old business?
Old business 2202 remains in legal review. And I think I mentioned to you all last time that the multifamily part is an active write-up, so you'll be seeing that soon. And then the Verizon Tower application was withdrawn. And if you don't mind, Leslie, I'll just go to new business. And just wanted to report that the 710 Chester fence has been reviewed and approved in the Joyner neighborhood. Thank you all for your work on that.
An update on that is that the fence came down from its current location, came down this weekend.
Wonderful.
All right.
Moving into new business. Item number 1, RZ 2302, request by City of Tupelo to rezone parcels fronting West Barnes Crossing Road from AO Agricultural Open to MUCC Mixed Use Commercial Corridor, 800 feet back to the center line on both sides of West Barnes Crossing Road from the Natchez Trace Parkway on the east to I-22 on the west. Ms. Savely, does the planning department have an opinion on that?
We do have an opinion on this. Thank you. So we have started this project. As most of you know, Barnes Crossing Road has been turned into a 5-lane by our major thoroughfare committee. And the middle portion here, which is where, and you'll see this later, we do not have any flood zone restrictions on land use, was originally placed into the mixed-use commercial corridor zoning district. Essentially because that road had not been built yet when that zone was made, but there was intention, so it was a conservative rezone. Now we are looking at rezoning these parcels. Now this is an interesting parcel, so try to ignore that, but this is attached to this same parcel here. These are the parcels in yellow. We're looking to rezone just the front 800 feet from center line, which is what that previous, oh gosh, it's that mad at me. That is the distance on the current mixed-use commercial corridor zone. And that does split some of those parcels, but it only allows the commercial use essentially on the frontage. And we're only doing 800 feet on this request because of the current infrastructure capacity. Major developments are not something that can be supported at present. And really, this is an incentivizing rezoning to try to draw commercial development to what Major Thoroughfare was seeing as a commercial developable area there. So showing you that, what that 800 feet would look like and what I was talking about there. These are the types of uses that zoning will allow. So you're looking at sort of nursing homes and congregate senior living, larger living scenarios like that. Also the allowance of townhouses, which would allow some residential development there, upper story residential above your commercial spaces, conference centers, event centers, all of these social environments, including educational facilities and your recreational uses like hotels, museums, and then your standard commercial development, retail, restaurants, and offices. The requirements of a zoning map change are adherence to our comprehensive plan. So I just kind of want to, you all are familiar with this, but this is compatibility for those of you who are here with our present zoning, suitability for the use of the property in the district, whether the change will improve the balance of uses in the area, and then adequate infrastructure and support for the types of uses. So, that is much smaller than I thought it would, but I just wanted to support kind of our proposal here, because this is a proposal by the city. So the Complete Streets program, this is something that often is thought of in reference to sidewalks and walkability, but also within Complete Streets is to reduce our number of car trips, to provide safe and convenient access, and to improve conditions of our transit and freight. To allow development there is going to keep a lot of traffic off of our local roads in order to allow them to go to uses on that corridor as they go into the Barnes Crossing area. If you look in red here, these are our arterial roads that engineering and the traffic committee and Major Thoroughfare have helped to designate. This section of Barnes Crossing is the only arterial road portion that is not already carrying a commercial zoning with it. And just to kind of emphasize what's been done out here, approximately $11 million was spent by the Major Thoroughfare Committee to expand the 5-lane there. And most of that road is agricultural still and not being utilized to support this investment. And then in addition, Phase 7 that's been approved as part of future Major Thoroughfare projects is a connector road. You can see this in green here to connect Barnes Crossing to the southern, well, to almost that intersection with 22 and North Gloucester there to help divert traffic from around the mall. Some of just the basic kind of development things I'd like you all to know going into this. Like I said, this does have flood zone areas in it, but these are flood zones where a no-rise certificate can be achieved through the Department of Environmental Quality, and that just would require 2 feet, building 2 feet above the flood elevation there. And this is a lot of information, but essentially I want you to know here that all this agricultural property, how its taxed assessed value, there's some concern always with rezoning how taxing is going to be impacted. It is only impacted based on the type of use. So until a use changes on the property, the taxation of that property would not change. And so what we're asking for is an approval of this rezoning. This would have to go to City Council for final approval, but requires Planning Committee approval for us to get that to its next step. So we recommend approval.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We'll now open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this? Very good. We'll move into discussion by the Planning Committee.
I just had one quick question. As you, in your presentation, you noted that Thoroughfare is going to install a connector from Barnes Crossing Road over to Gloucester. So is that going to be a 3-lane that they're going to, do you have any information about the connector street?
If I may, the expert is actually here with us. Can I defer to you, Dennis, on that to answer that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Alexis. So to answer your question, that is a proposed 5-lane road through that bottom. And again, that is, notice how I said that's proposed. It's part of our Phase 7 that was voted on as part of that ordinance. So it's an approved project. Now, several steps would have to be worked out before we actually, began breaking ground out there. But that is how we have that drawn up.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about what's the utility infrastructure status on that road, with water, sewer, electricity?
Yeah, so I'm working with, this is a Tom Bigby electric district. And so water and so will all be worked through them. In talking to them, obviously most of our infrastructure development has been in what is currently zoned mixed use commercial corridor. The anticipation is that what is accessible is going to be immediately adjacent to what that existing zoning is. And I know, Scott, you're referring specifically to down here at the intersection of 22. And there may need to be some main line, but I'm getting updates on that to help draw up sort of utility maps to help us further incentivize people.
Any other questions, or anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Moving on to Flex 2309, flexible use variance and major site plan approval request by Prevail Properties to allow duplexes in an LDR zoning district with a variance of 32% requested to allow 12 dwellings per acre at 4309 Inville Road, just west of the railroad. Ms. Ailey, does the planning department have an opinion on this?
We do. This has been a project that the developer has been working with us for quite some time to develop really livable space for the community. We are currently in a lack of housing, and duplexes are something that we know from planning that provide a lot of quality of life, create community environments, and sometimes they are done poorly. But the developer has worked with us to create front yards for each duplex, and I think you guys have the plans on this. But I just want to briefly kind of present this to many of you in the audience who are here because you received a notice. But I do want to say that our opinion today is that based on our mapping system has recently been updated, and because of that, we misidentified the parcel that this development is proposed on in our notices, and our notices didn't get to everyone in the amount of time that you all needed. So what we'd like to do tonight is I would like to request of the committee that we table this until our September 11th meeting. But tonight, because so many of you are here, I would like to give a little bit of an overview to you and then allow public comment so you all know that your comment will be included in the September decision so that you don't feel like you have to come back if you wouldn't like to, but you can kind of say what you would like to say on the matter here tonight. And we're going to hold off on the developer presentation so that in September they have a more thorough understanding and a better community kind of base to know how to address some of this. But I am going to present the project for you guys. Let's see here. I'm just going to throw the plan up on the screen so everyone can kind of see what we're looking at. Okay, so this is a long parcel that comes off of Enfield Road, and these are the 6 duplexes and how they're set up here. The goals of this development were to provide parking that is not right in front of the duplex, but off to the side to allow for that change in environment between where you park and your front door, give a sense of community, to see your neighbors, to know that you live somewhere and create a sense of belonging. We actually see like 30% better educational attainment and safety when people have front yards. And the developer was incredibly generous in working with us on this. There's a lot of open space that's available in this area, and landscaping, retention of the trees. There was on the parcel a residential use structure that the developer went through demolition permit with DEQ and has removed that structure. So, but what we are looking at is from the committee will require flexible use for duplexes. This is in low density residential zone, and duplexes are only permitted by flexible use approval. There also are, there's a limit on the number of dwelling units, and this would be a 32% increase in the maximum number of dwelling units that would be allowed typically on a 1.4 acre parcel. So you would be required to review that variance. Typically you see 1 per 0.3 acres is our allowance, and this would be 1 per 1 or 0.12 acres with the approved variance. Otherwise, your standards of review are here and no other variance is required. So I would like to, at this point, just turn that back over to you, Lindsay, unless you guys have any questions of me immediately from the plan.
Any question? As far as tabling it, we need a vote on that?
Yes, sir, we will.
Okay, all right. If there are no questions, do we have a motion to table?
Well, I'll make the motion to table.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second, provided the public knows they can still make comments.
Yes, by all means. I don't want to get it out of order. Do we need to table first, or do we need to allow first?
If you allow for public comment first, just so we keep to our normal order, that.
Okay, all right, yeah, good, okay. Well, the procedure for the public comments, if you would speak for a maximum of 5 minutes, we'll keep a timer. Feel free to come to the podium. There's a little sheet there that you can sign your name and address. After you've done that, if you would tell the committee your name and address and any concerns. So we'll now open it up to the public comments.
And if they could sign the sheet.
Yes, there's a.
And I'll keep the timer.
My name is Sue. I have property direct behind those where you want to put the apartments. And it appeared to me that when they did all the upgrading on that property, they went too far. And it appeared to me that part of that property are mine. And another thing I want to know, now when I checked it out, it's searched when they build it up so high, because my son was planning on putting a house back there. It really deteriorated all the property that was back there that belonged to me. Okay, how can that be addressed?
Sorry, we actually don't provide response to public hearing comment, but we will take that into consideration and respond. Yes, ma'am. But please leave your name and a contact.
These are my two sons and my granddaughter.
Miss Sue, did you put your address and phone number so that we can make sure to follow up? Thank you. Russ, is the sign-in sheet on something they could be writing their name before they come to the podium?
Okay. I just have a procedural question, if I may. My name is Sammy Green, and I have property on Belden Pike. And my procedural question is, should the community be expressing their concerns with this property without knowing the total project planning that is going to be presented to the city at this time? Mr. President.
I mean, that would be the purpose of the public hearing, to present the information on
That's
the
right.
development.
So the public hearing has been put off table until September the 11th. Is that correct? When the developer will be here to present his entire plan, so therefore the community can know exactly what he's going to do?
That's correct, because our notices weren't sent out in an adequate amount of time, but we still wanted to give everybody who's here a chance to speak.
Okay. All right. So I think I will decline to comment at this time and wait until I hear the full presentation.
Yeah, okay.
My name is Patty Parks. My property, along with my husband's property, is the property that you all are going to try to rezone or give the variance or whatever you refer to it as. So therefore, I know that by now you all know we did not receive a notice. Had it not been for the neighbor, we wouldn't have known anything about it, and you all would have been talking about our property as far as changing it. I realize a mistake was made, but mistakes like that, you don't make those mistakes when you start trying to mess with somebody else's property. We've lived there for 9 years. We moved home from Tennessee to help take care of my mother. We've spent a ton of money on that house trying to get it ready to sell. And now you all want to put duplexes there that are just totally adjacent to my house. But I'll stop right there and say 2 other things. First of all, within your own ordinances, for you all to even be talking about this tonight, for it to even be discussed, you're in violation, because we did not receive a 7-day notice. Then we received finally a 2-day notice. So you violated your own ordinances twice already. This shouldn't have been even on the agenda. And for you to say that you've been working on this for 8 months, sounds like it's a done deal to me. The whole thing sounds a little fishy to me, and I've shared that with anybody that I could share it with, so it's not anything that's new. But for the developer to have been working with you all for 8 months, nobody in Belden knew it. We've all been trying to find out who owned the property. We tried to find out who owned the property in order to buy it. Couldn't get any information. But then all of a sudden, it's sold. It was torn down within 3 days by the developer, I understand. And we're real curious about where all that asbestos and lead-based paint was disposed of. Because the house was like 60, 70 years old, so it's full of that stuff. So did you all give him a permit to do that? So I'm like Sammy, I'll leave the rest of my remarks until we actually have a meeting. But I just want it to be on record. You all are in violation of even discussing this tonight.
my name is Robert Parks. I'm the adjacent property owner to this. I'm going to start out asking you the definition of a low-density residential district is to provide an area of low-density residential uses and to transition more densely developed neighborhood and the agriculture open space areas. This district may be located in the more sparsely developed areas of the city where rural, low-density development patterns exist. And someone goes, utility services and infrastructure may not be there. But there's nothing about this project that follows into that requirement. How can you say putting 12 units? And how much, I don't know how much property is even there. Are they even 2 acres there? Can somebody answer me? I've never seen a plat of it.
It's 1.4 acres.
So on an acre and a half, you're going to try to put 12 units. And as you said in your own self, even looking under the, well, I'm going to stay in my place. And then right below that says the development emphasis for this property for low residential. The district shall allow low density residential uses and also limit development impact, particularly land clearing and purpose services such as buildings and parking, and higher intensity uses. Developments in this district shall not protect the character of existing single-family houses or offer large housing to residents. So you're saying here that, okay, we're going to do this, but now it also here you've got to have walking, biking trails. I don't know whether you have a full-flow site plan that shows open areas, that shows how much the property is open area, how much property is impervious area.
That's your time, sorry.
The what, ma'am?
There's only 5 minutes to speak, and that was your time.
Okay, I'm going to go one. Okay, and it says that, so you're not answering any questions, Debbie, right?
Not
I ask you a question. Okay, then again, on your own requirements, as you mentioned, 0.33 acres per unit, you're cutting that in half. And then again, you're supposed to have lots, big lots, and it says you're going to cut them down to 1.3. Now, I don't understand that. Also, when it says usage of flexible lots in low-density residential, it says duplex dwelling. No place does it say dwellings or dwelling unit or duplex units. So there's another violation of your own zoning ordinance. And this is things that I don't know. Apparently it has sold with y'all for 8 months. Okay. They have made a flexible use permit. It says you should have a pre-application.
Sir, I really must insist, you're much over time.
Do what, ma'am?
You are over your time.
I won't be at the next meeting. Very rude, ma'am. Very, very rude. When this is pertaining to my property, things developed in my life, and you're going to say that I can't even go on and tell you the violation that you have committed yourself, and you tell me to shut up.
Okay. Do we have a motion to table? Or any further discussion?
I'll make the motion to table till our next meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Jenny, could I mention that next meeting is September 11th, I believe, and notices will go out on that again.
Thank you, Russ.
Flex 2308, flexible use request by Dynasty Event Center to allow a restaurant without drive-through in the basement of 321 Tolbert Street, located in the mixed-use residential zoning district. Ms. Avely, does the planning department have an opinion on this?
We do. We would like to recommend approval for this with a final parking plan to be reviewed according to the use. Yes, sir.
Very good. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this application?
Oh, I'm happy to present. Sorry, this application is a flexible use for a restaurant without drive-through service. This is in a second basement address of the event center that you all have previously looked at on Tolbert Street. This is not a full kitchen, so it doesn't require additional building standards, but it will be, and Mr. Mayfield will present his hours of operation on this because I somehow missed those, I'm so sorry. But this will not be every day of the week. He has limited hours of operation on this, and it will be just a social pizza avenue below the event center.
We'll move into the committee discussion or a motion.
Oh, sorry, the public.
Oh. Yeah, and is there anyone here to speak for or against it? There being none, we'll move into discussion.
Is this just a little housekeeping to finish up?
This is an additional use.
Additional
This
use.
kind of makes this into a multi-tenant facility. But these are just, it's going to be a pizza oven and 2 air fryers, so it's really not a high impact use based on there's already there. It really just allows them some additional things to use in the event center.
Does Mr. Mayfield need to present to us?
Do you have anything that you want to, you're welcome, yeah. I know he mentioned it during the event center discussion, so.
Kenneth Mayfield. I didn't come prepared to make a statement. I didn't want to bore you with another speech here, but it is a continuation. The building was 321 Tolbert Street, as you mentioned, and we applied for a separate address so that the basement part, which overlooks the park, will be a pizza cafe. And so we're going to put a little restaurant in that section of the building. And we also have dressing rooms. As I mentioned before, it's an event center. We're hoping to attract people that want to do their weddings and different parties there. It's not a club, but rather a facility where social events will take place that will end probably around 12 midnight or early. So far, we've had, the city was kind enough to allow us to open the first floor of that event center. The basement is still under renovation. We have a few weeks left on that, but we hope to get it open and be able to invite you for some pizza in a few weeks. Any questions?
Mr. Mayfield, what will be your days and hours of operation for the pizzeria?
Right now, we're planning on weekdays from 11 until 2 for lunch, and then afternoon around 4 to about 6. And that's Mondays through Saturdays.
Will this space also be used potentially for catering for if you have a large event? Or is it strictly for pizzeria and that's what it'll be?
Good question. We are looking at the possibility of providing food like for meetings, for gatherings in the center, in the event center. So we do have the capability of providing certain foods like pizza that wouldn't be in the form of dinner. Those would be catered by somebody else.
There would be commercial kitchen requirements if the food is prepared on site, and I believe Patrick had probably talked to you about that in reviewing that. So, I mean, if it was something other than what they're doing, what they're proposing now.
So with the pizzeria, it does not have to be a full commercial licensed kitchen?
I don't.
No, if they were adding in the commercial, I mean, it really is a pizza oven and 2 air fryers.
Gotcha.
And so it doesn't require like a grease trap and all of the additional support of that.
So you're just asking for approval pending the certificate of occupancy, landscaping, and parking?
Yeah, we just have to make sure that based on the square footage of the use, that there's enough parking for it there. And the event center CO already has, we're working on landscaping, but he's already installed quite a good deal of it. I don't see any issue with that going forward.
So that's what I was asking, is it's just kind of a housekeeping thing?
Yeah,
We're
that's
really
right.
just,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am, but if you just do the approval, that's,
we're just moving step 2 here.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Got it.
I would like to comment that we have obtained the property across the street that was previously used for parking. So we will have adequate parking. We were concerned that we were a little short on parking. We had Murphy to come out and market, and I had anticipated about 90 parking spots, and they came up with 62.
Got additional spaces, so.
Yeah, so we got plenty of additional parking. We were able to get the property across the street. It's about 2.5 acres. And we intend to use whatever's necessary for parking. The rest of it, we hope to develop or attract some developers to come in and make it into a commercial zone on the first level and housing on the second level. So that's the long-term plan. Short-term plan, we'll have plenty of parking.
Any other? Thank you, Mr.
Lindsay, I'll move to approve the flexible use request by Dynasty Event Center to allow the restaurant at 321 Tolbert Street.
A second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 4, the September meeting. The first Monday would be September the 4th. Suggested reschedule work session for Monday, August 28th, and regular meeting on Monday, September the 11th. If I could have a motion to make that, and then also to adjourn.
So I'll make the motion to change the date and adjourn.
All in favor? And a second.
Amen.
Right hand.